Go for it. Yeah, that would be great. That way, yeah, I want to give them as much space to put their remarks if possible. We just have a gazillion mics today.
That's always the trick.
Always the trick. You're first. You're up.
All right. Make us proud.
All right. If all my speakers kind of want to stand behind so that they can see you, scoot up a little bit. All right, sir. Perfect. All right.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hudson County. Mikey, welcome back. Unfortunately, we're here for a reason that affects not only everybody in Hudson County, but everybody across the state of both New Jersey and New York. Donald Trump has issued an edict to stop the funding for our tunnel across from New Jersey to New York. How ridiculous and what a vendetta that shows from the Trump administration. I only hope, and I'm certain, that Mikie Sherrill has the strength and the capacity to stand up not only to Washington and Donald Trump, to fight for what's good for New Jersey. All right? Not only does it affect the residents of Hudson County, it affects everybody. How about all our union brothers and sisters who are not only over there now, but will continue to work through the course of the whole project? We have residents of Hudson County, Bergen County, Essex, in every piece of that tunnel ready to go. He wants to take that away from our families. The increased traffic congestion. You know, I'm a big road safety guy. What about all the roads that will be more congested within Hudson County? Sad. Jack Ciattarelli's not going to stand up to President Trump. Mikie Sherrill will. Mikie Sherrill will stand for the working class people. Mikie Sherrill will stand for the folks in the state of New Jersey in spite of Washington and Donald Trump's edicts. I know we have members of Labor here, and I thank you for coming. Thank you, Mayor of Secaucus, for being here. Please, the residents of Hudson County, New Jersey, have to understand that the fighter pilot that Mikie was, the federal prosecutor that she was, the Congresswoman who fought for the monies here and was labeled, I forget, Mikie, your label. Yes. So she's been there, she's done that, and she'll continue to fight. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you, Congresswoman Sherrill, for standing up for what's right.
I think next we have Jenny. Go.
Thank you, County Executive. Good morning, everybody. As mayor of Bloomfield, New Jersey, I know the Gateway Project is an essential lifeline for Bloomfield, which is a proud commuter city. And frankly, the cancellation of this funding is a direct attack on the quality of life for our residents. With over 3,000 residents using our local train stations and countless others taking buses or driving, this means thousands of Bloomfield paychecks rely on the ability to get in and out of New York City. As of today, without Gateway, we see regular shutdowns of our commuter routes and trains for repairs. The aging infrastructure we battle daily increases our commute times and not only takes us away from time from our families, but also costs us real money in things like additional childcare. Without reliable transportation, infrastructure, doors close and access to sustainable, well-paying jobs becomes more limited. This isn't just about traffic, though. It's also about assets. People move to towns like Bloomfield to enjoy a quality of life living in the suburbs in close proximity to the city. Towns like ours are attractive because we offer this. Our home values have increased because of this. So for Bloomfield families who have chosen to purchase in our town, this funding cancellation is a threat to the single largest investment they have, their homes. The cancellation of federal funding is certainly an egregious act of political extortion against our state, and it is one that punishes working families who rely on functional infrastructure. Our commuter cities like Bloomfield must be protected. We need a governor who understands that infrastructure is not a luxury, but it is an economic imperative. We need a governor who will be a fierce, unyielding advocate, one who is prepared to fight, litigate, and lobby relentlessly to secure and defend our state's federal funding. Moreover, we cannot afford a governor who views the largest infrastructure project in this country as not a New Jersey issue. We need to put Bloomfield commuters first, and we need to put New Jersey first. The future of our town, our property values, and our family time depends on it. We must ensure this funding is restored and this project proceeds because the economic health of cities like Bloomfield and New Jersey depend on it, and that is why we need Mikie Sherrill as our next governor. And now I'd like to introduce a friend and Bloomfield resident, a fellow mom and a professional who can speak to the ways in which limiting our access to transportation infrastructure will impact her family personally. Jamie Morrison, please come share your story.
Thank you, Mayor Mundell. As a daily commuter on the New Jersey Transit Midtown Direct train, the topic of the Gateway Project and its interruptions in funding hits home for me and my family. This project is not just a line on a map. It represents the lifeline that connects us to our work, our children's activities, and our overall quality of life. As a parent, I am acutely aware of how crucial reliable transportation is. The inconsistency of train schedules is already a challenge I face daily. When funding is cut and projects like the Gateway are stalled, We feel it in everyday lives. Missing my children's games, being stuck and scrambling to make plans for pickups. These moments matter. They aren't just simple events. They shape our family bonds and create lasting memories. When schedules are disrupted, it doesn't just affect me, it affects my entire family. From a professional standpoint, my hybrid work schedule requires me to be in the office consistently on certain days. Each time I wait for a delayed or overcrowded train, I'm reminded of the broader implications. Missing key work days or being late can mean lost opportunities, diminished productivity, and increased stress. In a world where so many of us are striving for balance between work and home life, any disruption in transportation can throw that balance off completely. But beyond my personal struggles, these funding interruptions impact the broader commuter community. We are a collective community that relies on timely, reliable transportation for our livelihoods and daily routines. A systematic approach to improving our infrastructure is crucial. We live our lives by the clock, and each moment counts. That is why we need leaders who not only understand these challenges, but fight to fix them. Leaders like Mikie Sherrill, who will be tirelessly advocating for working families and the infrastructure that keeps New Jersey moving forward. I'm proud to support her as our next governor because I know she'll make projects like the Gateway and the people who depend on them a top priority. Thank you for your time, and now it is my honor to introduce LIUNA's Vice President and Eastern Regional Manager, Mike Hellstrom.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Hellstrom, International Vice President, Eastern Regional Manager of the Labor's International Union North America, representing 25,000 union construction workers here in the state of New Jersey. I'm also a Vice President of the New Jersey Building and Construction Trades organization here in the state of New Jersey. And look, with all the chaos that's coming out of Washington, D.C., as you see right now, is we're fighting back what we like to call a lockout. You know, they can call it a shutdown, but this is no different than a lockout. We have the administration who's locked down the government, is now toying around with vital, critical infrastructure projects such as the Gateway Tunnel, 2nd Avenue Subway Tunnel, other projects across the country, taking them off the table that were slated to go and create tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of good union jobs all across this country is un-American, it's unfair, and it needs to stop. We need a leader here in the state of New Jersey that's been fighting tirelessly on behalf of the funding, you know, and she earns the title really of the Obsession Gateway Tunnel Congresswoman because she fought relentlessly to make sure that this project would be fully funded. And it is fully funded. It doesn't need another drop of funding. It has all of the funding that it needs in order to proceed and move forward. Currently, right now, there are about 500 union building trades workers working on both sides of the river, getting this project ready to go. We have workers in New York working on the rock face portal in the Hudson Yards, workers working in the Hudson River right now doing soil remediation, and we have 50 or 60 workers working here on the New Jersey side of this tunnel, getting ready to start boring out tunnels in January of this year. Jack Ciattarelli has been wrong on this project since the Christie administration. When he stood in line with Chris Christie, when he took away the funding from the Arc Tunnel project, which is now called the Gateway Tunnel project. So Jack has been wrong. Jack was at a Hudson County building trades meeting yesterday, and he said to us that we can consider him an advocate for working people, for good middle-class union jobs if he becomes the governor of the state of New Jersey. We have a question for Jack Ciattarelli. He should be standing here with us today advocating for the good middle-class union jobs that are already under the way and the tens of thousands of more good jobs that will be coming forward. Look, if we want to continue to play games with rail riders, 400,000 daily, going back and forth across the river here from New York to New Jersey and New Jersey to New York, and we want to play with 25% of this country's GDP, then go ahead and vote for Jack Ciattarelli. But if you want to make sure that you have world-class infrastructure and an economy that's working for every single New Jersey resident, then that's why Mikie Sherrill gets our endorsement, our strong support to be the next governor of the state of New Jersey. Thank you very much.
for President Trump to terminate the Gateway Tunnel project unilaterally. It's not only illegal because it's defying Congress yet again, which has already approved and funded it, thanks in large measure to the tunnel-obsessed Congresswoman, but it would strike at the heart of our region's future, threaten jobs, threaten quality of life for hundreds of thousands of commuters who rely on safe, reliable transit, and $20 billion in construction-related economic activity alone out of spite. Weaponizing the Justice Department, carrying out vengeance against a free press, and now weaponizing DOT contracts and carrying out vengeance by threatening our infrastructure. This undermines the rule of law, which these guys love to do, but it undermines Homeland Security because a fragile tunnel without a backup is an inviting target for a terrorist attack, especially at a strategic choke point connecting the densest and most significant economic zones in the United States. Right now, all of Amtrak and New Jersey Transit cross-Hudson rail traffic depend on two century-old tubes and one of the nation's busiest rail corridors. One tube fails, capacity is dramatically cut. And if both were needed to close for repair, just imagine, service collapses. Congresswoman Sherrill has championed Gateway since day one, serving us in the United States Congress. I know every time I pick up the phone and talk to her about transit issues, from her attention to detail and her plan, how much our transit infrastructure, how much our commuters' concerns matter to her, and she has a plan in place to address those issues. We need a governor whose attorney general will fight in court to enforce the will of Congress. We need a governor who will fight to protect the rule of law and defend our infrastructure. We don't need a governor who's afraid to stand up to President Trump and who gives him an A grade as we all watch democracy erode before our eyes. We need a governor who's going to mobilize every voice, from transit riders to labor to captains of industry to public servants, to combat this illegal and dangerous move, which is part of a pattern. Today we assert we will not let the Gateway Tunnel be canceled as an unlawful act of political revenge. Our country is better than that. And the woman who is best equipped to lead our state as its infrastructure is so violently assaulted is who we'll hear from next. She didn't start this fight, but she knows how to finish it. Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill.
Thank you. I really want to thank everybody who is here. Thank you to our County Executive, Craig Guy, Senator McCurgy, who we just heard from, Mayor Mundell, Mayor Ganelli, Assemblyman Rodriguez, Councilwoman Tringali, laborers, Vice President, Eastern Regional Manager Mike Hellstrom, Jamie Morrison, and I think we just saw John Bartlett, Commissioner John Bartlett, who's been so instrumental in transit here, and I saw Sue Altman, who is here representing Senator Kim. So it's wonderful to see this support as we fight for something so important to New Jersey as the Gateway Tunnel project. And I'll tell you, yes, I'm very proud, as you probably noticed, of that moniker, the tunnel-obsessed Congresswoman, because this is something that I have fought for from day one. And we remember the battle days. We remember the first Trump administration when he held Infrastructure Week seemingly every single week and yet got nothing done and did not fund this project. So to get the federal share was such an accomplishment, and to see how this could so improve our region, especially after summer of hell, after summer of hell, after summer of hell. And so you also heard today what an impact this will have on quality of life. And look, that's why I'm running for governor, to fight for New Jerseyans, to make their lives better, and this project does just that. If we don't fund this project, if we continue to rely on 200-year-old tunnels, which were damaged further in Superstorm Sandy, I have been in them, I can tell you exactly why we need this tunnel in the most heavily trafficked rail in the United States, in an area of the country responsible for 20% of the nation's GDP. This is critical. This is critical. And it's critical to the economy of the United States, but it's also critical to the men and women who commute every single day. Because without these improvements, it means continuing to miss dinner, to miss soccer games, to not be able to coach teams, to not get time with your family. It's a quality of life issue day after day after day. And really what I remember when my kids were young, most anxiety inducing, it means not getting home in time to pick your kid up from daycare and trying to figure out who can do that as you're madly trying to get home. So this is a huge quality of life issue, which is the main reason I fight so hard for it. So look, this tunnel project can be responsible for almost 100,000 jobs in the region. That's what's at stake. If we see delays on this, it's $1 million a day we'll be paying. And then should the president illegally be able to stop funding until we can claw it back, then that is going to raise prices because his tariffs are raising costs on everything. And so once we get shovels back in the ground after any delay, the price will only go up. So that's why we're here today, to remind people of how important this is, to push back against this idea that we should in any way freeze it or that the president has the power to terminate it. And I think it's also worth noting that my opponent has given this president an A. That was after he said he was freezing the funds. He has said this isn't a New Jersey problem. Well, I'm sure the almost 200,000 New Jerseyans a day who take this tunnel would disagree with that assessment. He says he doesn't hear anything about it. Well, that's willful ignorance, because I can tell you we are all talking about it because this is a huge economic impact and a quality of life impact. So the choice is clear. I'm fighting for the people of New Jersey. He's fighting to excuse Trump. It's unacceptable, and that's why I will continue this fight to make sure I always focus on the people of New Jersey, making their lives better and making our economy stronger. So thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to questions. We haven't gotten any more information, but the $18 billion would include Gateway and the subway that he says he's terminating. So, I mean, that's rich, right? Because here's somebody who's tried to excuse it at every turn, not till I've held him accountable and his back's basically to the wall that he gives this kind of milquetoast, oh, yeah, I'll fight for it. In what way? In what way is he going to fight for it? He's not here today. He's not pledging it in front of the trade union. So I find it really interesting that the only time he fights for the people of New Jersey is when his back's to the wall and I hold him accountable.
Congresswoman, the president says a lot of things, puts a lot of initiatives out there. A lot of them are challenged in court. No details on how he could do this, just saying that it's going to be terminated. He is the president, but how seriously do you take him saying that with no, details about how it could happen?
Well, I think this is why this race for governor is so important. Because in order to get good results for people, you have to fight back. You have to be willing to go toe-to-toe. You have to be willing to have your AG take him to court. My opponent has pledged never to take the administration to court. He said he agrees with everything the president does. So if we are going to back the president down from this assertion, if we are going to make sure we receive those funds that Congress has allocated to us, then we got to fight for them. We can't take a back seat here. And so that's what strong leadership means in these times, and that's why this race for governor is so important here in New Jersey. No, I have not. I would stabilize and modernize it, making sure we don't have the swings year over year, and then modernize. We haven't updated the formula in many years now, so I would modernize that as well for students with disabilities. We'll just stick to on-topic questions until we get through those. He's saying he'll freeze funding. So the reason work is continuing now is because we still have some funding left, but once that runs out, which would be in a matter of months, then we start to pay $1 million a day. We have a barge we're renting. We've got shovels in the ground. If we have this stop work order, it's going to cost us about $1 million a day, and that's until we start to get the lawsuits in for work delays. So it'll be very expensive should he be able to carry this out.
What is your expectation of leadership in Congress that this is in fact a negotiating measure by the president in response to the termination of the fund?
You know, I don't think a negotiating posture can be illegally taking money that Congress has appropriated. So shutdown or not, Congress needs to fight tooth and nail because this is an area where they have acted and they should not give away power like this. Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a really good point. Jack Ciattarelli's voted against infrastructure funding about 6 times. He was there to support ending the ARC Tunnel project, which we would have already almost been complete on that, if not complete. And he has also said that he's going to take a look at a lot of the transit lines and cancel them. So we see somebody who's moving away from public transit. I am in favor of public transit, especially in the state which so needs it for so many different reasons. But I think when you say what can be done, I mean, we've basically allocated all the federal share in Congress. And so now we see an out of control president just at his whim saying he's going to cancel it. We are going to stand up and fight for that because he should have no path forward for that. And this is what we're fighting for in this country right now, is to make sure that we have a president who has to follow the law. When Congress acts as a branch of government and allocates this money, that should be the end of it. So we'll fight to get that money back.
Is there anything you can do right now as a candidate, or should the Murphy administration be doing right now? Go to court, for instance?
As you've heard, he's made these bold statements. We need to see the actions, and then I think we should immediately be in court to counter them. And I think that's why we're here today, because to back the administration away from this, I think there has to be an outcry so that people realize it's not going to go unnoticed. I think it's going to lose Jack the election, and I hope that says something about how this state is going to move forward and the demands we're going to make for this money.
This might be a question for Mike Castro. When does the money run out? Is that several months? Like, you've got workers on both sides of the river. Like, when will the money run out?
I've heard 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that Gateway Development Corporation probably has about 45 days of funding on hand right now. But if they don't continue to get those reimbursements as they are scheduled to get, they'll run out of funding. And the minute they run out of funding, it puts this project in peril. And look, contracts have been signed already. And when in the construction business, when you're signing contractors with big general contractors who've put a lot on the line from their own bonding capacity and the like, and have really mobilized to start to do these projects, you're putting a lot at risk. We know we're putting at risk with the tunnel, but you're also putting massive long-term business ventures at risk as well.
What does Sean Duffy tell you when you had a conversation with him?
I think right now we're all looking to see how this would be enacted. There's, like I said, bold statements. There's not movement yet on exactly what this means in practice.
Your opponent talks about the importance of having a working relationship with the president. Even Governor Murphy has signaled, some sort of willingness to work with the president. Do you have that? I mean, you're talking about how you're going to fight, and you are willing to sue the president or something like this. But are you willing to also, sit down and negotiate with him, as Ciattarelli says?
I think if you are going to work with this president, you have to come of a strong stance of advocating for your state and what you want to see, and then you can negotiate. I mean, my opponent gives up before the negotiations start. He starts from a position of whatever you want, we'll do. That's not leverage, that's not negotiation. I don't think there's anything that's a little more telling about the kind of power Jack Ciattarelli would have with the president than the fact that 19 days until his election, the president's punched him in the face like this. That's pretty telling.
The FTA described, when I talked to them last year, they described the full funding agreement as a binding contract. It can only be broken if one of the partners fails to live up to their end of the bargain. What can Congress do, and the delegation do, to enforce this contract?
Well, I think we're probably going to need the courts to enforce the contract. We're in the minority in Congress, so we will advocate strongly for it. We will bring on people, as many people as we can build out. But I think the majority, the GOP majority in Congress has been largely unwilling to take on the president. So hopefully we could see some changes. But I also think that this would be something we'd fight out in court should he try to enact this. Thank you. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Right now,